Dr. Cyril Wecht is arguably the most revered, accomplished, and celebrated forensic pathologist in the world. His curriculum vitae in July 2019 consisting of 34 single-spaced type pages. Having served as president of both the American Academy of Forensic Sciences and American College of Legal Medicine, he is a highly sought-after forensic legal analyst on the cable news circuit, providing his input on criminal cases from Jeffrey Epstein to Ahmaud Arbery. Dr. Wecht has authored and co-authored numerous books addressing forensic issues in cases involving President John Kennedy, John Benet Ramsey, Elvis, O.J. Simpson, Chandra Levy, and others. Dr. Wecht's courage and integrity is on display on the big screen with the 2015 movie Concussion, starring Will Smith, based on a true story with Albert Brooks starring in the role of Dr. Wecht. All the above considered, on July 1st, 2019, Dr. Haar felt truly blessed to be able to retain services of Dr. Cyril Wecht for an evaluation of Crystal Mangum's murder case, considering himself fortunate that his Pittsburgh office was only a long day's drive from Raleigh. On July 18, 2019, Dr. Haar traveled to Pennsylvania's Steel City, and the following day of July 19th went to the office of Dr. Wecht and presented him with two manuals, one consisting of a narrative of the case, along with its companion containing exhibits of evidence. Approximately 3 months later, on October 25, 2019, Dr. Wecht submitted his report on Crystal Mangum's murder case. Its emphasis on the April 14, 2011 autopsy report by medical examiner Dr. Nichols and the medical examiner's handling of the case. The first of two seminal determinations made by Dr. Wecht was that Reginald Daye's manner of death was an accident related to a medical mishap at Duke University Hospital in treating him for delirium tremens, and not a homicide secondary to complications of a stab wound inflicted by Mangum. The ramification of this determinant is that Mr. Daye's death was legally not prosecutable as murder or manslaughter, that no crime was committed in his death. In a case in which no crime is committed, innocence is absolute. Crystal Mangum is absolutely innocent in her boyfriend Reginald Daye's death. She is the victim of a, quote, no crime wrongful conviction, unquote, a phrase utilized by Jessica S. Henry, an attorney, law professor, and author of the book Smoke But No Fire, Convicting the Innocent of Crimes That Never Happened. Receiving Dr. Wecht's 8-page report on October 29, 2019, Dr. Haar, 2 days later, filed on behalf of Ms. Mangum a motion for appropriate relief with the Durham Superior Court Criminal Division based on the exonerative report's findings. Haar filed the MAR because he could find no other suitable attorney willing to help the politicized Duke Lacrosse accuser. The NAACP, ACLU, North Carolina Innocence Inquiry Commission, North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence, the Innocence Project at North Carolina Central University Law School, and attorneys in the private sector all declined. Inexplicably, the motion would later be denied by the trial judge. That Halloween, Dr. Haar hand-delivered a cover letter and copy of the report by Dr. Wecht to the Durham ABC 11 news station, feeling confident that the newsworthy nature of Dr. Wecht's report would garner media coverage. During the early days of November 2019, Dr. Haar emailed copies of Dr. Wecht's report to many media types and outlets. That included the Duke Chronicle, Carolina Public Press, North Carolina Justice Center's Injustice Watch, Charlotte Observer, Huffington Post, The Daily Beast, CBS correspondent Leslie Stahl, The News and Observer, The Guardian, The College Fix, Joseph Neff of the Marshall Project, Indy Week, New York Daily News, and black North Carolina newspapers, such as the Carolinian, Greensboro Peacemaker, Wilmington Journal, and the Triangle Tribune. Absolutely no media coverage was forthcoming from these early efforts, most media types ignoring Haar. CBS 17 News anchors Angela Taylor and Bill Young were the only journalists who responded by phone, and Mr. Young suggested and conducted a 20-minute Skype interview with Dr. Wecht on November 25, 2019. Dr. Wecht expressed in an email his hope that the interview would be shown in its entirety. The interview, which would have made a perfect segment for CBS's 60 Minutes television news magazine, was never broadcast and was never uploaded to the CBS 17 News website for public consumption. Dr. Haar was never provided access to the video, and many months later, when seeking a copy of the Skype interview to help Mangum with her legal endeavors, he was informed that the video had been deleted, erased without the public knowing about it or viewing it. For Miss Mangum, its erasure was akin to the destruction of exculpatory evidence. The decision to destroy the video likely came from upper echelon executives and not at the local level. When Dr. Haar electronically notified Dr. Wecht that the interview for which he sat had been scrubbed without being aired, his email response read in part, quote, "I am very disappointed by the censorship of my input regarding this case by CBS and the other news media. I believe my comments were quite relevant and important. The bias by the news media regarding this case is horrible," unquote. Triangle Area Media Broadcasting Goliath, WRAL5 News top anchors, reporters, David Crabtree, Deborah Morgan, and Amanda Lamb were emailed a copy of Dr. Wecht's report, Mr. Crabtree responding, but no news coverage was elicited by Haar's actions. Since the media elected to suppress Dr. Wecht's report and its implications regarding Crystal Mangum's innocence, Dr. Haar sought to have all media accounts correct their articles to be in compliance with Dr. Wecht's findings regarding the manner of death. The Saturday, November 23, 2013 newspaper edition of the News and Observer had the false and misleading title, quote, "Mangum convicted in killing," unquote. According to the Macmillan Dictionary, the noun killing is defined as, quote, "an act in which someone is deliberately killed," unquote. An accurate accounting of the headline would read, quote, "Mangum convicted in death," but the truth is not what the newspaper wanted to convey. A secondary headline reads, quote, "Jury finds her guilty of second-degree murder in boyfriend's stabbing," unquote. Again, this is false and misleading, suggesting the cause of death was related to the stabbing and with no mention in the article of the true cause, an errant esophageal intubation in treating her boyfriend's delirium tremens. This hard copy newspaper is more than 8 years old and is likely in an attic or otherwise indisposed for research or viewing. The article is not readily found online, which is why no attempt was made by Haar to have McClatchy Publication issue a correction. The same cannot be said of online articles, which have the capability for infinite accessibility by the general public. For example, the November 22, 2013 WRAL 5 News online article titled, quote, Mangum found guilty in boyfriend stabbing death, unquote. A blatantly false headline, as there was no medical nexus between Daye's stab wound and his death. The context contains a confusing sentence similar to that in the News and Observer reading, quote, the jury found Mangum guilty in the April 3, 2011 stabbing of her boyfriend, unquote. The following sentence states as fact that Daye died 10 days later of complications. Again false, as Mr. Daye died after being electively removed from life support, which, in and of itself, excludes any complication as the cause of death. Furthermore, the medical examiner, Dr. Nichols, never specified the nature of the supposed complication that he claimed resulted in Daye's death. A little more than a year later, on December 31, 2014, WRAL 5 News published an online article titled, quote, Mangum appeals murder conviction in boyfriend stabbing death, unquote. Once again, false and misleading is the headline's phrase, quote, stabbing death, unquote. The text in this article contains the repetitive false refrain, quote, Daye died 10 days later of complications at Duke University Hospital, unquote. This supposed statement of fact by WRAL 5 News failed to explicitly describe the alleged complication. Nearly 4 years later, on October 7, 2018, NBC subsidiary Oxygen Media, on its Murders A to Z, published an online article titled, quote, Former exotic dancer who accused Duke Lacrosse players of sexual assault fatally stabs boyfriend, unquote. This online article was written to complement its documentary adaptation of the Mangum Daye event on its series, Snapped. By and large, the content of the text contained few factual errors, but it was the headline's inclusion of the adverb fatally to describe the stabbing of Mr. Daye which made the article objectionable. Though Miss Mangum was aware of the false and misleading online article's headlines and text, no legal action was taken because averments by Haar, though a physician, carried no weight. This changed on October 25, 2019, with Dr. Cyril Wecht's report on Mangum's murder case, in which he proclaimed the manner of death to be an accident and not a homicide. Armed with this report, Mangum, through her advocate, Dr. Haar, was prepared to challenge the media type's untrue and defamatory coverage about her. On May 14, 2020, Haar sent a certified packet to the Oxygen Media Vice President of Communications, Barry Rosenberg, requesting a correction to the online article consisting of the omission of the word fatally and a brief statement as to Dr. Wecht's findings of the manner of death being an accident and not a homicide. This packet was returned to sender unopened. A similar fate awaited a certified packet Haar sent on April 26, 2021 to Oxygen's Vice President of Communications, Jennifer Geiser, containing the same request as the packet to her predecessor. It was returned to sender unopened. With respect to WRAL5 News, Dr. Haar gave notice in a July 9, 2020 letter to its attorney, Amanda Martin, about problems with its articles of 2013 and 2014, which contained headlines with a defamatory phrase, quote, "boyfriend stabbing death," unquote. The 8-page report by Dr. Wecht was enclosed. Haar requested corrections in both articles to reflect the truths in the matter by removing the adjective stabbing from the headlines and making a few changes to the text. Because WRAL5 News elected not to cover the exonerative report by Dr. Cyril Wecht and its implications on justice, Haar did not feel it unreasonable for a statement to be appended to the article explaining the basis for the correction. Three weeks passed without a reply from WRAL5 News or its attorney, so Haar wrote a second letter on July 30, 2020 to Attorney Martin. It specifically warned of legal redress by Ms. Mangum if no action was taken by the media giant to correct its two articles. During the remaining 5 months of the year, neither Crystal Mangum nor Dr. Haar heard from WRAL5 News or its legal counsel, and early the following year, on January 6, 2021, the day of the insurrection's failed coup attempt on the nation's capital, Haar, on behalf of Ms. Mangum, filed with the Wake County Superior Court Civil Division a libel and defamation lawsuit against WRAL5 News and its CEO, James F. Goodman.